We're going to be talking about in the file, making data-informed design decisions. So excited for this one. It's coming up more and more in every single design team as we want to scale, impress our stakeholders, and make a bigger case for business design more broadly. This is where we're going to go in the future, and I've got some great talks for you today. With that said, I'm going to hand it over to Helen. Helen, please take the floor.
Thank you. So I'm going to take forward the screen. Just a quick technical check. Can you see it? 1, 2, 3. Yes.
Perfect.
Perfect. All right. So thank you for having me. And I decided to name the next 25 minutes that I'm going to talk about how to learn fast rather than fail fast, and using the superpower that is data. Because I hear a lot, especially coming from the startup world, a sentence that goes that fail fast to learn fast. So why not turn it around? So look, this is the next 25 minutes. And before I jump into the topic itself, just to set the stage a little bit. So my name is Helen, as mentioned, and I work at a company called Nortal, where I'm in the position of creative lead. And what the company does is that we are promising to build a seamless society, if you will. And we have different offices located around the globe. So you can see these little green dots on the world map. And if I would take the 100% of the company, so 60% of what we do falls under the category of public sector and healthcare. And the rest 40% would fall under building large enterprise solutions. And our department, where I come from, so we deal with the topics of service design, user experience, user interface, lab user testing, all those keywords that you can attach to this field. And here I just added a slide that you can actually check our case studies. So you can take your phone, scan the QR code that takes you to the link that's highlighted on the left side. And I'm Estonian, if that wasn't clear. So calling in from the capital of Tallinn. And the other sentence that you see here is that we're actually building products and services that are meant for millions. So it comes with two sides. So either a product or service that can be used by millions of people, or if the product itself is only being used by a handful of people, it actually affects millions of people. So for us, validation and time is of essence. And one of the things that we use next to many other things is the power of data. But before I jump into a case study that I just want to highlight here is maybe a familiar picture that a lot of designers have seen or who are working with customer journey maps. So I made here a small screen recording of a template that we have in Figma. We actually have multiple of them in Figma. And this is mainly one of our main tools that we use. And what we do is that we love to host workshops. So either digital or before Corona times, physical ones. And we use these customer journey maps as a basis. And just to go over quickly, what's the core idea of these customer journey maps is that you cannot create them. You have to discover them. So what I mean under this is that you cannot use necessarily a fantasy, but you have to use hard facts. So here's a picture before Corona times, how we hosted these workshops in a physical space to discover these customer journey maps. And usually we would have there, depending on the need, we would have different stakeholders, either from the customer support side, maybe somebody from the end user side, that can a little bit reflect and shine what the customer experience looks like in the service. But now the problem with these customer journey maps doing it this way is that, first of all, even if you have, let's say, a possible end user in the space, you still get biased opinions and input rather than like hundreds and thousands or even if not millions. And the second issue with these customer journey maps is that they are usually giving a lot of insight towards the company's internal processes, rather, like what's happening outside of the product, like actually how people are using it in the real space. And here I put down a small, again, video recording of a live session, how we're working with a team doing these online workshops. So we love to do workshops every day. I cannot stress this point enough. But But if I come back to this customer journey mapping, again, if you look at the picture here, the problem is that when we are laying this down, we're actually laying down only one linear journey. But in reality, if you think about even about your own experience last time when you used the product, it necessarily doesn't start from the same point. It might start from, let's say, Facebook. It might start from an email, maybe a friend shared a link. Yet you all might arrive to the same goal. So I made here a very simplified picture of viewing the products and how customers actually zig and zag to arrive to the same checkout point. And working with bigger products as we do, one of the other issues is that only one criteria is usually being measured, which is the NPS score. So NPS score stands for Net Promoter Score. So maybe a familiar picture would be if you go through a system or a service, and then it asks you, so from 1 to 10, how was the service? Which actually gives you again only one moment of time how the customer journey was, instead of like the whole holistic picture, instead of the whole helicopter view. And one more famous thing that is a bigger issue for me is that when we would do, even if we do these customer journey maps and we decide to go and measure something, then doing A/B tests or measuring these journeys, usually they would say it's about 2 weeks, how long you should measure the traffic. But the problem is that if you're building products that are meant for millions, then let's look at this chart. So on the left side, we would have the count of customers, which is, let's say, per day, 500,000. And on the bottom row, we will have 2 weeks. So meaning if there's a crucial error in the system or the product, then it means that the pain is actually growing over time. So you can calculate through simple math how much this pain is actually growing if you are not discovering it fast and not providing a solution to that pain. So just to recap here, without data, basically what we get using these kinds of methods is that we get biased opinions. We only mark down few or just one journey. The pain grows over time, and usually only one score is being measured, which is the NPS score. And to kind of explain how we have a little bit done it differently through a product that we're working with on and off is a product called eesti.ee. So sorry about the Estonian that you see here. It's irrelevant in the context. Maybe you can learn some of the words in Estonian. But what the product is, it's a gateway for all the residents living in Estonia, where you can do e-voting, where you can get your prescriptions renewed, where you can see your doctor's visits. So basically, it's connected to all the government authorities around Estonia. And the product owner for this product is the Estonian Government Information System Authority. So as I highlighted before, just to give the context, it's a system that's being used by 1 million people living in Estonia. So that's the population of the country, out of which 70% are Estonians. And now coming to the case study. So basically what we decided to tackle, how to make the experience better by using data. So one of the things, because we had very little to grab onto, which I already mentioned before, which was the NPS score. So we went over the NPS scores and kind of went through the comments to see what makes the experience poor. And one of the main things that people mentioned was that I cannot reach to my end goal because I cannot find the topic that I'm looking for. So for example, if you're trying to find, for example, how to renew your driver's license, then people couldn't navigate in the menu tree and they were looking for search, how to type in fast renewing driver's license and then get to the result. So here's a small visual exercise. For those who can find the search, good for you, but most of people actually couldn't find the search. So it's just a small hint here. It's actually there on the view. It's in the top bar above the header, this black strip that's there. You can see it's this grayed out element. And so the production team decided to at least come up with a new solution to test out. And the solution here was to put the search more maybe in a shape of a common UI and move it in the middle like Google has, let's say. But another problem came out, which was that, let's take the same example of renewing your driver's license. So 51% of people gave up after their first search inquiry, which is a pretty big number. So again, we had to go back and tackle the same issue. So why is this effect happening exactly? And we decided to flag this momentum because from the NPS scores we could see where the journey possibly might start. So kind of like setting the starting point, this search component. And what we did was that we have to come back to this customer zigzag, because again, it just proved the point that customers do zig and zag. We cannot look at journeys just in a linear way. And we used a third-party solution that's developed out as a custom tool in one of the universities here in Tallinn by a small IT company, and decided to kind of see, like how customers are interacting with this new component. And what we discovered was that those who gave up, what they actually did was that they went back to Google, typed in the same search, and then it guided them back to the AC.E system and gave them the answer. And for those who managed to type in the search more correctly, finding the exact matching words in the search, then actually got to their result through the AC.E website. And I have an outreach here to the community. So basically, as I mentioned, that we used a third-party tool for that, and then had to lay down manually these customer journey maps in Figma and put data underneath each of those views to see what the funnels look like. So it would be awesome if we could do this data integration automatically into our prototyping tools as well, leaving this hardcore manual work on the side. And one other thing that we did with this third-party solution now was that when we knew that people are going to Google, so what if we would help people? So if you know that, let's say, that renewing your driver's license is one of the key things that people are looking for, then let's imagine that they would click on the search field and a suggestion box would open up. This before the autocomplete, before you start typing in anything. And we used the same third-party tool to test our prototypes. If now the customer journey map goes more linear, or if they jump back to Google. And what we discovered was that the simple kind of suggestion actually lowered the number of this 51% of first inquiry on the prototyping level. And when you're working with big products like this, then basically the time that you spend A/B testing or doing these prototype-based solutions, you can actually learn faster. You don't have to spend 2 weeks or a month or maybe 1 week to kind of learn about these things. So you can make the loops smaller than that. So basically, if you go to sleep over the night, next day you could come back with new learnings. And this kind of one thing that I want to highlight from this section is that integrate small changes fast and get the feedback fast. Like try to make those loops as tight as possible. This saying is pretty famous in the development world. So why not adopt the same mentality for design thinking as well? And another interesting a hidden thing that came out of this process was that when we think about these kinds of products, then usually they're connected with some sort of design system, right? So for those who are not familiar with design systems, so it's a collection of components that you have for the system. For SD.E, it's called Vera. So imagine now that if we would have flagged the search box, if I go back to the 2 iterations back, then we could have seen from data, if it would have been connected with the prototype and design system in the background, that this component is being used by 100% of users, maybe only a handful of percentages. So basically, we would have known that this component is not being used in a design system, so we could have gone and actually updated that component or removed that component or improved that component. So we can actually integrate the same learning that we do for customer journeys for the design systems as well, basically taking 2 flies with 1 go. And this very this thinking in like component based level, it forces you to think modular. And the cool thing about this effect is that it promotes communication inside of your team. So us at Nortal, our team kind of one of our sayings is that we work in tandem, we work in pairs minimum. So meaning that if we think if we think modular, fast, and getting feedback all the time. So meaning that we have to be in very tight communication with each other, whatever it takes to get there. And if I would give one clear takeaway for you guys, it would be that sit, think, and execute. The method that I highlighted that we are doing, it's our own design method that was discovered when we were sitting down and thinking, how can we work better with data? So why not refine the same thinking inside of your teams, that how can you use data through early and continuous delivery? And one very unexpected outcome of this process was that it actually lessened time of on unplanned work by 21%. So where this number came from was that if we took the first estimate of how long actually we predicted that we would come to validated solution, we actually came to the solution before the planned time. And here I would like to stop. So I provided here my working email, and you can see on the right side, that's my virtual office. So I'm waiting on the other side with my two dogs. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was great. We've got a few questions that I'd like to ask, if that's okay with you. The first question is coming in from the Q&A, and they were wondering how you analyzed user comments. Was there just going one by one through these things, or is there a particular method that you used?
So the thing both is actually correct. So we had to go through those comments one by one. It was a very lovely Excel sheet. Maybe you have heard about this lovely tool. And we used the method of clustering. So basically, again, if you would read a comment, then we would group the same things together and then giving them votes with what to work with. So again, as I mentioned before, we love workshops. So we did a workshop.
Right. The next question is coming from Emily. They think there's potentially a risk in the iterate small, fast changes and feedback, in that you potentially lose sight of the whole package or the future direction of the product. How can you balance that as a designer?
Yes, so this is a great question, and this was my outreach to the community, right? So there's not a single kind of like tool out there that gives us these customer journey maps with a helicopter view, right? So even if you're using tools like let's say Google Analytics or Hotjar or something like that, you still get these dots, but that are not connected to any view, right? So you're still looking exactly the same issue. You're still looking at, you're having this tunnel vision. But imagine if you would have these automated customer journey maps, like as a helicopter view. So you can actually see, like if you would zoom out, you would see the whole flow. You would see your like towards what you're working with, what's the product end goal. But yet you can zoom into different parts of it.
Great. And someone asked if your template will be available in the Figma community soon. I think we'd all love to see that.
So I will discuss it with my team, but we are huge supporters of the community, so I guess they would be okay with that.
Great. And just two more questions. What inspired you to start thinking data first? Was it something that you just naturally landed on as a team, or did you get inspiration from somewhere else?
I would say it's naturally landed on that because we spent the last year and a half to kind of refine our own processes and using the power of Nortal, which is a pretty huge company, to kind of like see what things we could use. And we mapped down all the possibilities that we could utilize. And then one of the things that we discovered was that we could integrate data into multiple steps in our processes, how we deliver products.
Awesome. And then the last question, do you think that having one piece of data is always going to be better than having no data at all?
Oh, yes. Again, so it's what I mentioned early on. So otherwise, if you're working with zero data, you're getting biased opinions.
Awesome. Thank you so much. There are lots of other questions. We'll follow up after, or maybe we can set up a separate session for those questions as well. Thank you, Helen. I'm going to switch over now to Cristina.
So, as already introduced, this is data-driven design system session. We will talk about how can we apply design decisions into our design system being validated by data through a CRO methodology. So let's begin. What is A/B testing? I'm sure most of you have heard about it, but not quite sure of how is it done, or how can it be in performance. So I want to use this here. It's great. Okay. No. Okay. What is an A/B test? Is to confront two variants, to compare and to analyze how does user behave with those variants. For example, let's look at this image. Here we can see donut with a blue background and with a pink background. What do you think is best? What do you like more? That is not something I can decide. You shouldn't decide. In fact, I think most of us maybe have been visual designers before being product designers. We always hear, I like it most, I think is better, but that kind of decisions shouldn't be made by us. It should be made by our customers. What do they prefer? What kind of background sells more? Maybe this is a silly example because blue and pink is not a huge change between the images, but let's put it this way. What if I have a product detail page with my donuts and I have a white background only with the donut and the shadow of it? Or I can have a box in front of with a table with a very beautiful wood with the coffee, and in a coffee shop, perfect. What do you think it will sell most? We don't know. Let our users decide. That's why I like this phrase a lot. Let data decide for you. We don't have to make any decision, any design decision, because our user must be the one who do that. And how do we do this A/B testing? Through CRO, conversion rate optimization. What is it? It's a methodology. It's a strategy, but it's also a job profile. I work in a team that is called Performance Squad, where I work with UX, with a CRO, with developers, with product owners, with UIs. The CRO is the one that leads the team, make the strategy to make the decisions that we should apply in our e-commerce to understand how does the user behave and make data decisions with the A/B testing in different channels with only one focus. We all have the same objective: improve our conversion rate. That is not always sales. It can be the times a user downloads a document, or the times you get subscriptions, or how many leads you get from a form. So it's not all about sales. But the important thing here is this group is all about increasing and having our KPIs controlled and in positive numbers. What can we test? We can test everything. Look at this example here. These are all users, and half of them can see the e-commerce of the platform as it is right now, and the other half can see it with a little change. Maybe the banner instead of the left is going to be at the right, and that would lead us with results. What does converts better? What works better for our users? In this case, is going to be the treatment. The improvement of what we think it was going to be better works because 4 of all our users convert instead of the 2 of the as-is version. What can we test? Colors, typographies. You can't imagine how difference can it make in the behavior of the user with one or another typography or with the color of the CTA. It is very, very surprising. Components and model, where are they in the template? Same model at the top of the page or at the bottom makes huge difference. Copies, it's not the same to have the main CTA with just the label ad or with buy it now. And it doesn't work for all e-commerce in the same way. You can think that no, buy it now is better. It will put people in like buying in that moment, but not really. What about cars? You don't go and go to e-commerce, see a car and say, oh, I'm going to buy it now. No, that is a reflective purchase, but maybe in a hamburger e-com, you see the bacon and you say, oh, I want it. I am really hungry. I will buy it now. So that's the decisions you can't make by your own. This is hypothesis. I am thinking that maybe in the car e-com, it won't work as best and as it will be in the hamburger shop, but that should be tested. So a lot of things can be tested, as we can see. I wanted to show you this great example because it's not all about sales. This is a checkout page from an article that I found on the internet that it was very interesting for me because the problem that they have, this is a checkout page for a cell phone ecom. The problem that they have is that they have a lot of returns because of the color of the cell phone. You can see this model here just below the original, when you can choose the color of your phone. I think it didn't work out because users didn't know that this was here and the color could change there. What they do is to test it, improve the model, putting a ready button with the number of the color, if it is available or not, and increase the conversion rate 18%. That is a lot in the checkout page. But what is more important here is that the calls to the call center decrease. Do you know how much money can you save without having to make the logistic to return the phones, to refund the bad reviews you get in social media? So it's not about conversion rate and how does it affect sales. That A/B test can affect a lot of departments. So please be very careful with the test you make in the checkout page, because having this model here will make you have above the fold other models that might be important for their business and that will be not so relevant as they were right now. So this is a great test to understand that it's not about sales. How do we work in Tribal? This is our diagram, our workflow. How do we work with each test we launch? This is what we do. The first is to understand what we have. What do we have in our ecom? What is it working right now? What it is not working? So you analyze, you get a backlog with a list in an Excel with everything you think that can be improved, and you prioritize it. For example, I prioritize this test. The problem of this page here, that is an offers listing page, is that I have a main CTA here, and I have offers that can be added to the basket by clicking on the card. What happens? That most of the users clicks on the main CTA of see my basket instead of the offer, so the basket is empty by default. So we analyze the click proportions. We have almost 30% of the users clicks here and split it into the image, the name, and the description. The problem detected is that users are more likely to click on the main CTA than adding an offer. So this is one test we're going to analyze. Once we have the problem detected, we create the solution. The CRO create the test plan. Which devices are going to be tested, which audience, what percentage is going to be ABC or is going just to be AB, and product design thinks on the solution. This was a very easy solution because I wanted to use a very easy example, but the hypothesis will be, if we add a call to action in each card, users will understand better that that model is clickable, increasing the click rate, and in consequence, the times the offer is being added to the basket. So that is the solution. Dev team goes right into the tool that we use to put the code as a patch. They patch the front to make a CTA in each offer card. And then we have to make the quality assurance. If it's cow, we go back to dev team so they can fix it. And if it doesn't, we have the product owner go or no go, depending on the QAs that we've done. It can be an Excel sheet where all the team members have the acceptance criteria. For example, UI must check if the bottom is in the right color with the right padding, the right spacing, and UX team must check of the flow. if it works fine. You put all the OKs. When we have all the team members okay, you can launch the test. Here we are. If we have the okay, we have the full launch. It's like a launch warning. Every time we launch a test, it's like warning, we are in pro. So everyone test again. We leave the test in live for at least 2 weeks. How many times should a test be in live? It depends. It's not the same to have a page traffic very, very small than a web page with thousands of visitors. It's not the same to have A/B tests than ABCD tests because the results are not going to be significant in much longer period of time. It's what they call a statistic confidence. Once you have the statistic confidence, you close the test and see if it works or if it doesn't. Audience segmentation, KPI baseline is not the same to have in the original 30% of conversion rate in that page than 1%. 1%. It's not the same because it's not going to increase that much to see the difference between the original and the treatment. Business nature, as we talk, is not the same to buy a car than to buy a hamburger. Maybe test something in a car's e-commerce will take longer than one from the fast food e-commerce. And the moment of the month is not the same for us, the users' behaviors to be at the end of the month when you just get your paycheck. So that is a thing that needs to have in mind to understand how should a test be running in live to have a statistic confidence. Now, do we have a winning test or do we have a loser one? If we say, oh, it happens a lot that we think this should be a winning test, and it is not. In fact, it impacts negatively in sales. So we have to put it again in backlog, iterate and see it again, what could happen, analyze it, propose another solution, and launch it again until we have a winning test. But if we have a winner test, like this one, adding the CDA to the offers cards increase the click rate 2%. You may think that it's not too much, but if you have a page with a lot of viewers, it will have a very good impact in conversion. As we can see, if I split it right here, the image from 10% of the clicks, right, getting to 3%, the name is not longer important, and the CDA almost, 11% of the click rate. So it worked. The button is working. Once you know it's a winning test, it's important to understand that, oh, now let's put buttons all over the place. No, this happens in this page with these specific users in this period of time with this product or with this offer. So we cannot extrapolate to everywhere because maybe this model, this card is being used in another vertical, in another department of the company, and it shouldn't be replaced with this one. You need to test it. You need to test in all the places where this offer card is being used so you can validate that it really works everywhere. So we have here the whole flow done. And now is when we put all those changes in our design system, publish our library so it is available for all of our team members and can be integrated in the backend with the dev team. Let's see how do we work in Figma with this process. I work especially with 3 documents. We have our team for client, in this case is Mobic as a demo. And I work with these 3 main files. That is for A/B test documentation. Everything is documented. I am very obsessed with documenting everything. I use here like a template to show you how we work. I put emojis everywhere. These are tests that fail. These are the ones that are winning tests, and these are the ones that are work in progress or in live right now. I have a template where I put where does the test start, where does it should end, or where did it end, a link to the backlog and the devices that are affected with this test. Problem, solution, and result with the original of the different treatments. I made here an example with, let me put it better so you can see it. The test we just saw about the click rate proportion, how did it affect on the conversion? The problem we already know. This is the solution, adding a main CTA in the offers cart so it can be more clickable, or users can understand that this module is clickable. UI specifications, where is this module? Is in the design system, is in the cart section in models, and treatment module was built here. I don't build the module in the design system because it's not validated anymore. I don't want anyone to use it. I need to validate it, see if it works, and then I publish in the design system and in other templates. So here is where I have this main design, all the specification for UIs, what needs to be done in case this test is a winner. It should be translated to the design system. What pages are involved here? Just the home page because it's a demo in this case, and the result of the test. So once it's done, we have a winning test. I go to the design system. Here I have, like, I think is very common, this structure with the brand elements, the components, and the models. In this case, is specifically we need to change the card. Here is where you can see also how much obsessed I am with documentation. Every module is documented. What module is the master for UI, so they can apply changes efficiently, like a waterfall changes. If it works for all devices, also just for ones. How is it built with the background field, with the content layout? Where can it be used? This is important because every time you make in very big teams, you are not sure of where is this, all the changes that can be affected in templates. This is a demo, only is going to be affected in one homepage. But what if this card is being used in all different departments and you don't know how it will affect those templates? Maybe they're working on that one, you change something and they will kill you. So here is all documented. Copywriters specifications, visual team specifications, for example, and the one we care about right now. If I have something being tested, I put it here. No one can do anything because this is not necessary. This is not editable, the design system, at least not for all team members. But I always put an alert and a link to the documentation of that test in case someone wants to get a deeper look of it. So let's make the change. This case, I'm going to do it just right in the module because it will be replaced only in the home page. For example, we said we need a secondary. I can see with this here, a secondary button that says aplicar oferta. I don't want to go too much pixel perfect, but maybe we should only a bit. 1, 2, 3. In case we don't want to replace this card in all templates, or it will affect some department that shouldn't be impacted by this change, I will duplicate the module and use a variant with the CTA on or off. So each department and each member can choose if they want or need or must change the module in their templates or in their section. In this case, I'm just going to do it this way because I want to be affected by all of the templates. Important, I am not going to put anything right now, but it's very important to document the changes in case someone needs to accept it, knows where is it going to be reflected. I will publish. And I have the templates in another file. Here, for example, I only have the home page. Here I have our offers card. So if I accept the change, lorem ipsum with the card, I have the change and I automatically increase the template because I am using the auto layout 48 different distance between each block. So it is very efficient to do it this way. It was practically automatically. Think if I have to do this in a whole flow or in 10 different templates, it will be very easy to do. In case I don't want to do it this way or do it with the variants, I just have to click on the card and select another variant and click on to enable the CTA. So that is pretty much how we work day by day. Every test we launch. So I hope you find something interesting to be applied in your different companies and departments to be more efficient with changes and applying data into your design systems and not make decisions. Your bosses shouldn't make, no, I don't like that. They say, oh, prove it with data, please, and then I will change it. So thank you all.
Thank you so much. That was really, really impressive. You've definitely sold the importance of A and B testing and how much impact that can have on people's design process and scaling up. So I do have some questions from the community, and I'd love to get your insights on those. The first question is, what was the process for getting this signed off at a management level? Was there something that was quite hard to sell internally, or was it an easy process to get that sign off on?
You mean inside Tribal with our clients?
Yeah.
Well, in fact, we started with one, we call it a 30-day plan with one of our clients to see if it works. And then it was like the 60 days plan. And then I call it the everyday plan because 2 years from now, we are still doing this methodology that was going to be only for 30 days because we're going to prove your sales is only 30 days and we can test it and we can prove it with data and you're going to see your conversion rate increase in only 30 days. This is a very good speech that maybe you can use. And right now, our performance squad is the forever plan for me because it really works. The most important thing to say to your clients is about efficiency. Why should I make any dev improvement or any change with development team? You know how expensive that is without really knowing if it's going to work? Let's test it. Only 2 weeks is very easy with the testing tools. We launch almost one test per week, except for those that are very complicated. But the idea is to make mini tests, always testing, because it's very cheap. And then you go to the dev team and apply it in the back end. So I think when you say it's going to be efficient, it's going to be cheap, and you're going to improve your sales. With that 3 things, you're gonna get it.
Very, very nice. I'm sold. You mentioned that statistical confidence was central to the process. Is this confidence something that the entire team needs, or is it just the manager or the person that's signing off on it?
It's just data. When I talk about that kind of a statistic, is I am talking as a CRO, that I am not, but I always hear my colleagues say it doesn't have a statistic confidence yet. We have to leave it more time. So I think they analyze. They're CROs, but they're also data analysts. This is like very mathematical and statistics that I don't quietly understand everything. And I don't know if I am answering your question. Maybe I understand it bad, but there are different variants that lead you to have confidence, statistic confidence. But that is something that says by the CRO. He said we have it, and then we listen and we say okay. But product designers are not included in that decision. It's just data.
Okay, sure. And speaking of designers, I know that a lot of designers can be sensitive about consistency and ensuring that everything sticks to a system. So have you ever felt that some designers have restricted or rejected the idea of A/B tests?
Not really. In fact, it's easier for them because there is sometimes we have so much responsibility by applying changes that we think that they're going to work, and in fact, they're not working. So having data is like self-insurance. Like, oh, our users likes it, so I don't have to make any opinion. I don't have to break my mind finding solutions that I think they might work, but I am not responsible if they don't work. I will put A, B, C whatever solutions you need, but I am not responsible if they work. Let's users decide for that. But about consistency, yes, they are sometimes afraid about that, but let's think that the ones that design the solutions are very concerned about consistency as well. So it's something we have in mind always. Yes.
Sure. And this question, it might sound like a trick question, but I promise you it's not. What stage do you think is best to start including data in the design process?
From our stage that I already mentioned, or in business, or in the
I
company
think
life?
if you're going to advise a design team who wanted to start using data in their design process, where do you think they should start? What stage of that design process do you think is the easiest way to onboard people?
Both people from the client or from the team?
Well, let's say both.
Let's say both. Well, the most important thing here is that you are aware of the size of your client, because if you don't have to manage so much traffic, you won't get any result from your A/B testing. You need to have traffic. You can pay for traffic, the better, because more people sees the test, more confidence you get in shorter time. But I will say that it starts with easy things. Don't go crazy. In fact, more crazy you go, mm, difficult is to manage the test, because for example, we made a test that it was good, that it was a winning test. We make a hard, super extreme makeover of a product detail page. We launch it, and it was a winning test, and then we say, why did it work? We have a different image, we have different typography, we have different CTA. Why is it a winning? Is it because it's totally different, or it was just because of the color of the CTA change? So mini test that doesn't put so much pressure in your team, but you can start um, reflecting that the results are there. In what stage, and always start analyzing. Really see what is the behavior of your web page, benchmark, not always the competitors, the best practice of why does Amazon sells that much, why is what they have that they set a lot in that interface. Just analyze it. And there is a lot of heat maps of Amazons all over the place, where you can see in fact videos of the users behaviors in their product pages. You have a lot to work to learn from other e-commerce.
That's great. I like that. Start small, very important. The last question, I know that designers have a lot of individual tasks that they need to complete in their day-to-day work. Do you think that every single designer should be approaching data as something they need to learn, or do you think we should be getting specialists on board inside every single team?
I think you need a specialist, especially for data. I have the first time I worked with a CRO, is like everything changed in my life. Is whoa, now I have data, and every time I don't have so much time for the CRO, like please send me data, please send me data. I need to understand how does it work, but he's with a lot of things, and when I don't have the data, I say I can't. It's like, or sometimes we say something to the client, I say, if I don't have the data, I won't make the decision. So it's the CRO there is very important. UX UI works together as one always. Dev team, please always have in mind dev team, because sometimes we create tests that are not compatible with the tool, that they need to make an API call, or they need a JavaScript to be injected, and they say you spend 3 days of this sprint with something I can do. So all the team should be involved in all tests, always.
I really like that. It's very easy for designers to forget that developers exist apart from when they're building the code. So including people inside the design process is going to be central to the scale, to success, even to happiness on a cultural level inside every team.
Totally. In fact, I don't paint as a UI. I don't paint. I don't like that word, but I don't design anything. At least is the technical feasibility approved. UX make the proposal. I want to do this with the wireframes. Talk to tech. Tech says good. Then I put it in the design system or whatever it needs to be done. I don't work if I don't have the okay. It's a waste of time.
Exactly. Thank you for being so honest about that as well. It's really refreshing to hear that. I think that's a really nice space for us to finish. Your template that you had would be amazing as a resource. So feel free to share that inside the Figma community. And thank you for your session. We'll see you very soon.
It was a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me, and let's start testing.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Bye.
All right, everybody, that's a wrap. Thank you for attending this morning. I hope you learned something. Please do make sure you tune in for our next live streams, and we'll see you very soon.